Alright, what's up fight fans? You're watching Not Can Control MMA. Today we're going to be talking about UFC 257's co-main event, Dan Hooker versus Michael Chandler. Finally seen Michael Chandler debuting in the UFC. A lot of hype about his debut, and it'll be good to see Dan Hooker again against after his fight of the night performance against Dustin Poirier back in May of last year. Right, so we'll talk about Dan Hooker first, then Michael Chandler, then do a side-by-side, path to victory for both fighters, and finally my pick. Okay, so Dan Hooker, 20-9, 10 knockouts, 7 submissions, 3 decision wins. He's 7-2 since he came back to lightweight. He did start off in the UFC at featherweight. He went 3-3, I believe, but definitely come into his own at lightweight. He's currently ranked number 6. Okay, he most recently fought Dustin Poirier, as I said a little bit earlier, May 2020 that was. He did lose this one by unanimous decision. That's how I scored it as well. But it's a very good fight, particularly round 2, which you'll be watching now. This was definitely a contender for fight of the year. This was definitely the round of the year, round 2, the start of which is on the screen for you. Big slugfest back and forth. Just Poirier got the better of it in here. Both ended up in the hospital from what I understand. Neither of them too permanently damaged, which is always good to see. Okay, next up, Paul Felder. He fought him back in February of 2020. Split decision win for him on this one. Very similar to a Poirier fight. They literally stood in front of each other and tried to knock each other unconscious, which is what people want to see, really. But both very close in skill level. Split decision, it really could have gone either way. I did have it for Hooker personally, but I'd have completely understood had Felder won that one. Alright, Ally Quinta before that at UFC 243. It was, sorry, just trying to remember. Great takedown defence in this one. Not at all like his other 2 fights. Ally Quinta kept going for the takedowns. And Hooker did very well on the takedown defence, managed to reverse a few, and landed some great ground and pound, and also threatened with submissions, particularly with chokes from the back. Alright, next up we'll talk about Michael Chandler. Like I said earlier, UFC debut. Charlie! Hey! Sorry, just shouting at the dog there. He's messing about. Michael Chandler UFC debut. He's 21-5 in his career, spent mostly at Bellator. I think he did have a couple of Strikeforce fights back in the day. I don't think many people had heard of Michael Chandler until he signed for the UFC, but I think that's just because Bellator's not quite as popular as the UFC. It doesn't necessarily mean he's a bad fighter at all. His last 2 fights, he's both first-round knockouts. Most recently, Benson Henderson, who was a UFC lightweight champion at one point. Charlie! Sorry, the dog's really going off today. Sorry, Benson Henderson. No. Alright, sorry, I'm back now. I just had to sort the dog out, very unprofessional. But we'll continue talking about Benson Henderson. Clip for you on the screen now, that knockout. As I just said, former UFC lightweight champion. But that was a long time ago now, and most recently in Bellator, he's not looked as good as he previously did. Okay, before that, Sydney Outlaw. I'd be very surprised if many people have heard of this guy, but Chandler did win that one with another first-round knockout around the 3-minute mark. It'll be on the screen for you to watch. Not a great deal to say about either of these fights, though. A couple of exchanges and then an early knockout in both of them. Before that, he lost the lightweight title, which he did hold, to Patricio Freire. Pitbull he goes by. This guy did move up from featherweight to fight for the lightweight title. He is really a natural featherweight, but this was a couple of years ago. And Pitbull is said by quite a few people to but a lot of people think he'd beat Volkanovski, basically, who's the UFC featherweight champion currently. Alright, that'll do it for Michael Chandler. We'll do a side-by-side now. Striking, grappling, fight IQ. Sorry, not fight IQ. chin, gas tank, and level of past opponents. Okay, striking first of all is going to go to Hooker. I appreciate Chandler's probably got more recent knockouts on his record. Again, I'd say quality of opponents a bit lesser though. And Hooker's got a 4-inch reach advantage. He's got great knees, great kicks, great elbows, great punches. I think Hooker's an all-round better striker. Michael Chandler's probably got, maybe you could argue he's got an edge in the power, but certainly not in the technique, over range, over volume even. Hooker's quite a high volume fighter. Okay, next up we'll go for grappling. I'm going to go for Chandler in this one. He's got great wrestling credentials. It's worth mentioning that they've both got 7 submissions on the record. But I'd say Chandler's probably a bit better in the wrestling. Hooker's takedown defence is very good though, as you saw a little bit earlier against Iaquinta. So yeah, I'd be surprised if Chandler was able to take him down and hold him. But I do think he will try, so it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. Right, next up we're going to go for chin. And this is going to be Hooker on this one. Purely because of the damage and the punishment he's taken in his recent fights. To not get knocked out by Poirier, he did very well. I mean, Gaethje got knocked out by Poirier, let's not forget, and he's got a chin of iron. And again, before that, Paul Felder, he must have taken over 100 shots to the face in that fight as well. Didn't get stopped. Whereas Michael Chandler got knocked out with 1 punch not particularly long ago. He's also been knocked out a total of 3 times. Hooker's only been stopped once. That was by Edson Barboza, and that was with a body shot as it goes. So, yeah, that doesn't technically count as chin in my opinion. So there we go. Alright, gas tank now. Again, going with Dan Hooker on this one. This is purely from recent fight experience. In his last 3 fights, Hooker's gone 65 minutes, 2 25 minutes and a 15. And Michael Chandler's gone 6 minutes, which I appreciate, by the way, was 2 first-round knockouts and a first-round knockout loss. That's not to say he's not good, but more recently Hooker's got the longer experience against high-level opponents, and I think that's going to carry him through here. Alright, notable opponents. Yeah, Michael Chandler's fought Eddie Alvarez twice, former UFC lightweight champion. Benson Henderson twice. Patricio Pitbull. Patricky Freire twice, which is Pitbull's brother. But I don't think many people have heard of some of the others that he's fought. Brent Primus he's gone 1-1 against that guy. But yeah, not really that many names people will have heard of. Not to say they're bad fighters, but if you don't really watch Bellator or haven't watched Bellator over the years, you're not as likely to know them. Dan Hooker, on the other hand, Poirier, Felder, Iaquinta, James Vick, Edson Barboza, Gilbert Burns, who's fighting for the welterweight championship next month, and Jim Miller. I'd say that's definitely a much higher quality of opponent than Michael Chandler's faced so far. So Hooker's getting the advantage in this one. Alright, path to victory for both of these guys next. Start off with Dan Hooker first. He is favourite to win this one, coming in at minus 140. Chandler's a plus 110, so it is very close on the betting line, but Hooker is a slight favourite. I think his best chance of winning this is to catch Chandler with a knee when he's coming in for a takedown, and definitely use his range to outstrike him at the distance, but then hopefully get a finish in the later rounds. I think even if it does go to the ground, I think Hooker's still got a good chance. Very active off his back. His takedown defence is very good as well though, so we'll have to see what happens there. But I think Hooker's best chance of winning is to catch him with something big, or either knock him down and then ground and pound it out. Okay, Chandler, despite what I've said about his wrestling, I do think a knockout's probably his best chance of winning. I wouldn't fancy him over the distance with Hooker. Like I say, Hooker's got the more recent, longer fight experience, so we'll have to see what happens there. But I think Chandler's probably best bet, as in his last 2 fights, is a big overhand right for the first round knockout. but I'd be surprised to see that happen. Okay, my pick now. I'm going for Dan Hooker in this one by... It is only a 3-round fight as well as its co-main event, but I'm going for Dan Hooker by 3rd-round knockout in this one. That's going to be my pick. I think he'll wear Chandler out in the first 2 rounds and then catch him with something big late on. But at the same time, if he's won the first 2 rounds, he might be more willing to coast and not risk anything big in the third. But we will have to see. Alright guys, that's going to wrap us up today. Please like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram. I'll have a new video out tomorrow. We'll be talking about Adesanya versus Blachowicz. So that's something hopefully everyone can look forward to. Alright guys, bye bye.